Hello YouTubers. Today I have Nintendo 64 controllers in front of me. One is a USB. This one is a USB one. You can buy these off eBay pretty cheap. You can just hear the rattling going on in there. Not that much rattling on that one. So these buttons have a lot of play in them, especially these. You can move them all the way around. These you really don't have that much play on them. What I'm going to be doing is, this is original Nintendo 64 controller. This one is actually a port for Nintendo 64. So what I'm going to do is these buttons here sometimes don't, they could just be cleaned, but they don't have the springy like they used to. Especially a trigger. Doesn't have that pop noise. That one does. Very little. New one. Same with this. Can't even, there's no spring back to it. Some of the buttons don't work sometimes. Joystick's pretty good. It's not loose or anything, so that could just be cleaned. I haven't cleaned one of those, so oh my god, it's been years. Probably when I was in my 20s. So, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna disassemble. It looks like the same, basically the same layout in a sense for the pads here and the D-pad. Joysticks are obviously different. These look like they're the same. They're downsized a little bit. We're gonna have to investigate when we take it apart. So, you know, everything lines up with the holes. So it shouldn't be a problem. So let's get started. I gotta put an extension on my thing to reach down to the other screws probably. I can't remember. Those screws like to stay in there. I already got that one out. And when you put these back in, you want to make sure you don't tighten them too much. Especially don't use this. You want to hand tighten them, because you could snap them. Don't drop the screws. We rescued it. Alright, so it should come apart. There's those other screws that finally dropped out. Yeah, I do not remember how, yeah, there you go. There's this side, one screw. You might want to take that extra screw out. So yeah, back in the day I would take these apart and clean them, you know. You just take a Q-tip and clean this pad and put it back on there and clean this. You get better connection, but we're just going to put the other pads in there. We're going to see if the other ones will fit. Might not. So if we had to probably modify something. Alright, let's set this to the side. Let's take the other one apart. It's crazy is seeing, you still see the slot for the expansion pack. So I'm wondering if they kind of used the same die packets that they used from like back in the day from the Nintendo 64s. These screws are a little different. Obviously to save on cost. Yeah, so I got a nice collection of Nintendo 64 games. I mean, it's old school. You play them on a nice flat screen RCTV or whatever you call them. The old box TVs, but flat screens. Pretty decent picture. You know, it's not the high-tech graphics that we have nowadays, but it's pretty cool playing, you know, like 007 and old school Resident Evil 2. I got all the screws out of here. This one snapped into place or what? It probably is. The top part. There we go. Come on. Doesn't want to come free. What the heck? I don't want to break it. There's a screw under here. That's the QC sticker I missed. I was gonna break it. They had it covered up. The little QC sticker got me. Like, man, it shouldn't be that hard to take it apart. Wow, look at the sensor on that thing. You're gonna miss a beat with that one. It's a pretty big sensor versus the original. Use the 2-wire there. It's pretty interesting. So the signal wires just go up to there. This one has a lot more wires, obviously. It's pretty interesting. Looks like we could use the same ones. Which is weird how this one goes in. And they still have the holes from the old ones. The original Nintendo ones. That is pretty interesting. Wonder why they didn't go with that. Same with the trigger here. You can see the hole in that one. And there's a hole in this one. You got the pad in there, obviously. So let's make this controller better. So we'll take all these components out of here and just swap them over. Because obviously if the contacts are clean now, it's going to obviously make connection better. But I want to have the good parts in the actual real controller. I just wanted to see if it was possible. So if you could rebuild your own, you know, old school controllers instead of getting knockoffs. You could use the knockoff parts to rebuild the originals. So this, we could just remove this. There we go. And clean this up. We're actually going to be taking this apart and refurnishing this. This one will have to be mounted on there different. I don't know, I'm not even worried about it. I'm just going to throw that away. So let's take this apart. Slide this board out and disconnect these screws here. Yeah, it's been so long since I took these controllers apart. Remember that black screw right there? That's for top cover of the controller, joystick controller. If I remember. Okay, we got that disconnected. So we can take this controller port apart. Take this screw out. You know what's crazy is they didn't use security screws on their controllers, but their game consoles they did. Like they gave you the access to be able to clean these controllers without using a special tool. So we're going to try to break this free here, these both sides. That pops up and there's the spring loader right there. So basically if you want to add more tension to the spring, to the joystick, if it's loose, you know, you could, you know, pry the spring apart a little bit. But you can see all the nasty dead skin that's in there. This one has nice spring back, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to clean around here. You could leave this attached. You could just turn this outwards and, you know, clean the components just like that. But it's nice how the sensors work. You can see there's all dead skin in there. If we turn the microscope camera on. That's the wheel. It has those little dots right there. That's how it reads where it's at position. The sensors. Pretty cool old technology. And there's your sensors. Basically dials. Pretty simple. So we're gonna grab some Q-tips here. Recondition this controller. So basically, I just wanted to replace the D-pad buttons and the triggers and the Z button and the A and B, you know, and the C buttons or whatever, just because those weren't really responsive. The joystick was fine. But you can see there's lots of dead skin in there. This was a used controller purchased off eBay. Alright, that's nice and clean. So you want to make sure you get these under here. Try to get that dead skin out of there. There you go. Good as new. So now showing you how to take this apart is we're just going to turn this, pop it out. Like if you wanted to add a little bit more tension to your spring, you can just pull it out just a little bit. Not too much. There, I added a little bit more tension. So it's be more springy. Now this will come out like this. And we're going to clean all this. Alright, so we got that. Now we're going to turn our attention to here, around the sides. You can see there's dirt. Dead skin buildup. I mean, since I was changing the buttons, might as well recondition this. Nice and clean. Do the same with the joystick here. Alright, now we just gotta clean this one. And these two pieces are the same, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up. Maybe you had wear and tear on one side, you want it to go up, and on the other side you could swap these around, I guess. Well, you couldn't. You can't swap this around. My bad. I thought you could. I forgot this one's the smaller one for top of the joystick. Must be thinking about another controller. Like I said, it's been since like probably 17, 18 years old since I took one of these apart. Who knows? Alright, so we're going to put this all back together. So we're going to grab our joystick, put it through, grab our spring, our little washer. This will have this little indentation on this side. Gonna put it there. See, it's got some wear and tear right there. And on this side, a little bit. Stuff's old. Then you just grab it like this and you'll twist. Get it the right direction that the joystick's supposed to go. Set that back in there like that. Put our sensor back in place. So we got the sensor back in there. So get this nice and straight as possible as you can with the joystick. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak the tip of a Q-tip just with WD-40. I used to always do it back in the day, and it used to make the joystick really nice and smooth. Never had no issues with it. Just on these areas. Put some on here. Very little, it's not like drowning it or anything. Do the same with this. Alright, that's good enough. Suppose if you wanted to, you could just use the WD-40. That's a good cleaning agent sometimes for certain stuff, but you don't really want to soak all this in. You just want a little bit. It'll last forever. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's put this back together here. Giving me flashbacks putting this back together. Let's see. There we go. We gotta put our screw in. And hand screw this in. Remember you were seeing all the scrape marks before? See what the WD-40 did? Brings it back to life a little bit. Plastic. Got a nice spring back, everything, just from stretching that spring. Didn't have that before that much. I'm just gonna wipe this up a little bit. We don't want to, I mean, look at it. Looks a lot better. Moves a lot freely, so. Got that cleaned. Now let's get back to taking this apart. We're going to clean all these contacts. Usually see it's kind of dirty a little bit, but that's some of the material that rubs off too. So you don't want to do it too much. And we'll take a look underneath and see why it wasn't making connection that much. under the microscope here. You can see the pads here are pretty straight. But we'll look at see the markings of the material. It's so old. And you see the material is kind of like drying up. Start button, you know, we could just see the material. It's like, it's old. And like we look at something, let's look at another button from the newer controller. Same material, but it's like kind of like, this one's kind of like drying up. So go over here. That's what's causing see the A and B button right there. So pretty bad. So we're just gonna disconnect these. Pop this out, we could clean it. You can see it's kind of nasty. Alright, that's clean. Start button. That one always used to get dirty, but this one ain't that dirty. Yeah, for the most part, these are pretty clean. Alright, so we got the pads off there. Now we're going to take the pads from the other controller. Cheap aftermarket. So we're going to grab this out of the trigger. Surprised they never put no screws down for this. I'm going to take this pad. I'm going to put it on the other one. Forget these usually used to go one way only. From I can remember. Yeah. There it is. we go. Got the pad on there. Yeah, it's pretty cool because this is more see-through and then it has the more see-through instead of the gray material. Be cool. Maybe I'll do a part 2 on LED mod on this one. Light up controller. That'd be kind of cool. I think I'm gonna do that. LED mod. Put some blue and yellow, whatever. Maybe have two where put a turbo or something in it. That'd be cool. So we're gonna take the other pad here. This one looks a little different. Should work in theory. What do you know? Exact fit. Works perfect. That's pretty surprising. So they must have used the same mold, the molds when they used to build these, or when they still build them now. Start button. It has the hole in it, of course, so we could just use this one. We'll give it a new start button too. So we're gonna give this thing all new buttons. Alright. Alright. It's always fun putting back together. Not. Alright. So we can kind of just test the buttons out. See how they feel. Look at that spring back. Oh yeah. No. I wonder if we're gonna have an issue with the start button. I don't know. Yeah. Start button wasn't really an issue. We'll clean it. Can't use the start button. Oh, that sucks. Let's see about the D-pad. Oh yeah, nice. Alright. Yeah, that works out real nice. So unfortunately the start button one ain't gonna work. That's why it's a good idea to test to see before you take it all, or put it back together and then take it all back apart. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean this one. Give it new life. Alright, looks a lot better than what it did before. So we're gonna put that in there. That sucks. Every other button would work except the Z and the start button so far. Put our joystick back in place. Put our screws in. Yeah, people are trying to charge a lot of money now for these controllers with tight joysticks, not worn out joysticks, the originals. I mean, these knockoffs would be actually pretty nice. Let me grab one. Let me grab a button just for example. So these, the C buttons on them are kind of have a lot of play in them. So let's take a tool, measure this. They have a lot of wiggle in them. If they didn't have a lot of wiggle in them, these would actually be nice controllers. The joystick is nice. It doesn't, you know, it completely goes around. So if we take this is from the blue one, the knockoff aftermarket one. We measure this. So it's about so 8.80, right? I can't even get it on there. 8.90 almost. So like a big difference. Again, here's the knockoff. To about 879, right around there. So I got a bad reading. I mean, it's just off a little bit. I think my thing's dying, so could be part of it. But they are a little bit like smaller, and that's what gives them a lot of play. And that's what's kind of garbage about the knockoff ones. If they fix that, because obviously they're using the same mold for these, so I don't think that would be the issue of why it had more play. I mean, if we look at, let's see, we go over here, we take the pad, this is the original. You see that? 7.93, right? See, that really don't make no sense. $8.35. I don't know, so it's just weird. I don't know. Not really trying to get high tech into it, but it would just be nice if they made these buttons, the C buttons, just a little wider, and the A and B buttons, and it would be a good controller. The knockoffs right here. I don't know why in hell I'm getting so trying to get high tech with it, but let's get back to putting this back together. Slide these into place. Put our board back for the Z button. Just knot that in place. These are fun putting back together. Alright, so we gotta put our buttons in here. I don't know how this is gonna work. Usually the pads will stay on there, so I'm gonna have to carefully they're not holding themselves completely in there. There we go. Now I wonder if the Z is gonna work. Put a new button on there. Might as well. Let's try it out. I doubt it's gonna work. It's like the start button in a sense. No, the Z button's not gonna work. So we'll clean that, put that back original. So the Z and the start, can't use them. We're gonna clean this with Q-tip, try to bring it back to life. So you can see I got a lot of that crap off. Looks brand new. Good enough. You like this little plastic kind of holds it in place. It's trying to stop me from going in there. Oh. See, I always hated those things. They'd always come out. Those triggers. They try to catch you slipping. Oh, God. It went in no problem last time. Now they want to give me a problem. Alright, that's good. Oh yeah, look at that. See that trigger? That thing has, you can hear it now. It has playback. Oh, nice. Joystick moves around nice and freely. So a lot more tighter. So, you know, basically we just took out the old pads of the original controller, used the aftermarket USB one that you can buy off Amazon. You know, they're cheap. Use these other parts for something, and create something with them. I don't know. Put them in the junk drawer. But yeah, pretty cool how you could use the parts from here, except the start button and the trigger, which we just cleaned those. They're good. Mainly what I was having issues with is the B button and the A not working, and the trigger. So you can see it's got spring back and stuff like that. So if somebody wanted to mod their controller like that, you know, you want to fix your original Nintendo controller, you could use knockoff parts. They're not knockoff, but they're kind of manufactured the same way because they're using the same molds. It's probably the original. Maybe somebody got their hand on them, said, "Oh, hey, let's manufacture some aftermarket." They take the label off on them, put different circuitry in them, but pretty much all the same except the Z and the start button, which is kind of bummer. It would have been cool if everything would have worked. I was trying to put the wrong screw in there. Yeah, this ain't a service I offer or anything like that. This is just something I'm doing for my own game console. You gotta keep the old ones going, you know, like PlayStation 1. I got Atari. I got another Atari that I gotta fix. I was thinking about fixing the Atari system, but I need to get a cartridge for that Atari system. I really don't know what's wrong with it. It's probably like a power issue or something. Not powering up. Who really knows? It'd be kind of interesting repair. Add another system to my collection. Alright, so we got this last screw here. Kind of want to put the screws back in, don't like cross thread them. Got one more. There's always one more screw left. So yeah, things back together. Look at that spring back. Nice spring back, so. All there is to do to test it, but I'm pretty sure 100% that it's going to work. You ain't going to have no issues. It's going to work better than what it did, that's for sure. It's going to work. It wasn't working before some of the buttons, so yeah. So this stuff, you know, you can throw away. There's no reason to save any of this. Cheap little chip there, die packet. Manufactured in 9/22 of 2017, so a couple of years old. Yeah, but hey, I got a nice long USB cord to use. This thing is super long, man. Let's see how long it is. Look at that thing. So that's a nice little hack right there for something. Wow, they use some like old type dial or what you adjust your TV, the old box set TVs and stuff like that, and power regulators. That's all they used. 2 of those, that's it. Pretty interesting. Yeah, I should have measured the insides of these. Well, I had this one apart so I could see if, you know, if you could use the swap to frame for anybody else if they wanted to know. I don't know, but pretty cool. This is just a little quick video of reconditioning a Nintendo 64 controller with a knockoff from Amazon, cheap one you could buy for parts. We just took it for the D-pad and the C buttons and the A and the triggers, because the start and the Z won't work by using that. Would have been nice. I mean, you probably could have modified it and, you know, make it work, but I'm not trying to modify the controller like that. I just want, you know, these buttons and the trigger to work, and so sometimes this one will work that good. So, and you can see the contacts were dirty underneath when we took it apart, and I put it underneath the microscope. So yeah, so just basically reconditioning an old, you know, game console that, you know, they're going to become more collectible and more collectible down the road. I mean, they made and manufactured lots of them, of course, but the controllers, you know, to get the original ones, you know, people are, you know, taxing on them nowadays to get an actual original one without, you know, no play. You know, some of the joysticks will just sit here and sit off to the side like that, you know, acting like, you know, sometimes it'll be broken, and that'll be like the little pieces in there that we cleaned. So it's basically a simple video on how to, you know, repair the original Nintendo controller, some of the buttons, functions with a knockoff, which is pretty cool that they use some of the same kind of molds and kind of sense in the same parts, but not really, because the joysticks are different and stuff like that. But hope you guys liked the video. If you guys liked the video, hit that thumbs up. Also, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel and you like my videos, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and as always, thanks for watching.